Good afternoon. My name is Michael Bates. I'm here to present my presentation on my family culture. Here's a quick look at my family tree for the 5 generations. My generation, 3 generations up, and then my children as well. You'll notice that the African side of my family is all on the right-hand side of the screen, the far right-hand side of the screen. And then the American influence on my family tree is on all on the left side. Few years back, I guess last year, I did a DNA test through Ancestry.com. These are my results. As you can see, I'm primarily European, English, and Scottish. And then the African is about 13%. For some reason, the Italian just isn't showing up quite as strongly, even though it is just as strong as the Ethiopian. It's not showing up in the DNA for some reason. As I mentioned, I've got Eritrean or Ethiopian blood. Until 1993, they were combined. In 1993, Eritrea won its independence, and with our family being from the coastal region of the Red Sea, that falls under Eritrea and not Ethiopia. Also, I have some Italian influence, and then most of the influence to my culture is from the United States. My great-grandmother, Hannah Golniche, was born in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia in 1913. She worked as a nanny for an Italian family as a young woman. Ethiopia was an Italian colony just prior to World War II. The Italian family that she was working for, the wife had an affair with another Italian, and her husband sent her back to Italy so that to get her away from the Italian gentleman that she had the affair with. My great-grandmother, who I call Nona, went with the family back to Italy. And when she returned to Ethiopia a few years later, she found that she had been arranged to be married to a man in her village in her absence. Having seen the world and not wanting to be married to a man from her village, she ran away from home. And while on the train from Massawa to Asmara, Eritrea, she met my great-grandfather, Ugo Bolsi. Ugo Bolsi was born in Cesena, Italy in 1897. He was stationed in the Cushitic region of Africa by the Italian government. He was one of only 2 Italians to ever to officially marry an African woman. It was not uncommon for them to take African concubines, but they wouldn't actually marry them. They'd abandon them when they went back to Italy. They were married in 1937, but because of the fascist regime in Italy, they weren't able to register their marriage until after the war in 1946. After their marriage, he worked for the Directorate of Political Affairs for Mussolini during World War II. Because of the prejudice and the discrimination with the fascist regime, my great-grandmother was unable to be officially recognized as his wife, and he actually hid her in a convent during the war, and he would arrange for rendezvous in shops in Rome where they'd pretend not to know each other, just so that they could have contact through the war and not get into trouble. I want to go back real quick because I forgot to share. A few years back, my great-grandmother did an interview with a woman working on her dissertation in the Italian colonization of Africa. And I want to share real quick this recording, or a portion of the recording from that interview.
Mi chiamo nella mia lingua Hanna Gonnice. Gonnice è il nome soprannome, poi non è il nome di mio padre, però mia nonna le ha messo quel nome e lo chiamano così. all'età di 13 anni, no, avevo 13 anni, aspetta.
Having known my great grandmother growing up, her voice is very familiar to me. In fact, the woman knew 5 languages, and quite often she would not even realize that she was switching languages mid sentence. She spoke 5 languages, but absolutely refused to speak in English. And I, afraid to slaughter the Italian language, refused to speak in Italian, but I understood enough to be able to understand her. And so she would be babbling in Italian and then would switch mid-sentence into one of her other 4 languages. And I would have to, I'd have to stop her and go, Nonna, Italiano, Nonna. And she would switch back to Italian. But whenever I listen to this recording, I can see her. I can smell the perfume and the spices on her, and I can hear her laugh again. And it's wonderful to be able to have those memories and to have a recording of her voice. Both the Italian and the Habesha influence on our culture was collectivist. Habesha food is eaten from a communal pot, and each person tears off a piece of injera, or flat sourdough bread, and scoops out a bite from the communal pot with their hand using the bread. The community is centered around the food and the coffee, and weddings are multi-day events of just singing and partying. And then I also grew up with the Italian custom of greeting people with a kiss on each cheek. It didn't matter how long or how short you had known this person. When they came to visit, you would greet them with a kiss on each cheek. And then my great grandfather's affiliation, despite his affiliation with Mussolini's regime, my nonno would demonstrated his at least partial rejection of the ethnocentrism that was so part of the fascist regime, with his love and his protection of my nonna. Intersection of histories. This was really a big part of the chapter for me, because the history of the Bolsi and Gonice marriage intersected with the cultural group history of the European colonization of the Cushitic region, and as well as the national history of Italy's fascist regime and its involvement in World War II. And as you can see on this slide, there was also an intersection of 2 different family histories with the Horner-Bolsi marriage. Ugo and Hannah had a daughter, my grandmother, Maria Bolsi, who grew up in Ethiopia. And my grandfather, Dennis Horner, was an American GI stationed in Ethiopia at the time, listening to the Russians over the radio. And they would fall in love, and they got married. Well, Dennis Horner's father was an island-hopping Marine in World War II. And so I have the intersection of an ally soldier and his son intersecting with the family history of an Axis military officer and his daughter. And then on the other side, we have the United States contribution to my family culture. I'm the direct descendant of John Alden and Priscilla Mullins, Pilgrims on the Mayflower. In fact, Priscilla Mullins was the only single woman who survived the very first winter in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Through this line from John Alden and Priscilla Mullins, I am a direct descendant of the American Revolutionary War patriot Zechariah Field of Hatfield, Massachusetts, my 8th great-grandfather. I've applied for membership to the Sons of the American Revolution through this lineage, and that application is currently pending. As I've traced my heritage back, I have found Revolutionary War patriots within practically every branch of my family tree. In addition to the Revolutionary War, in my ancestry, I have ancestors who fought in the War of 1812, the Civil War, World War II, and Vietnam. So through this side of my family, there is a huge emphasis on patriotism and contributing to American independence. Through this side of the family, I've gained portions of my culture, my family culture, that value the low uncertainty avoidance, dislike rules, accept dissent. You know, one of the things that I was taught growing up was that as an American, dissent is patriotic. Yes, that was said by Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but at the same time, it was something that was taught not necessarily in those words, but subliminally through my rearing. Because of the American influence, we have a low power distance. We understand that the American government answers to the American people, that there is not a strong hierarchy within the American system of government, because the American system of government answers to the American people. We also value long-term orientation. We value perseverance and tenacity. And then we're also indulgent. The freedom of speech is more important than maintaining order. When it comes to religion, my father's maternal grandfather was a Southern Baptist minister. My paternal grandfather was a New Age priest. My mother's paternal grandfather was an Assemblies of God minister, and my maternal grandfather describes himself as a Hornerist, his last name being Horner. My maternal grandmother is a twice-a-year Catholic. So there's a strong influence when it comes to religion as far as pastoral ministry and involvement in religion. But at least on my mother's side, immediately beyond my mother is a mentality that religion is fine as long as it doesn't impact your life. Both of my parents are adult converts to Adventism. And interestingly enough, at the age of 6, my family and I moved from Birmingham, Alabama, to Collegedale, Tennessee, so my father could attend Southern Adventist University and get his theology degree. My father is now a Seventh-day Adventist minister. And my family's philosophy, or at least my parents' philosophy when it comes to religion, is that when one has a relationship with Jesus Christ, they must transform their life. However, me personally, as an adult, my religion and the influence of my religion has changed. I have adopted the philosophy that a relationship with Jesus will inherently radically transform your life. That transformation of life is not a requisite of religion. It is the effect of a relationship with Jesus Christ. And this newfound religious perspective based on relationship is what brought me personally to my personal call to the ministry. It is what has facilitated that relationship with Jesus to the point where Jesus then called me to his pastoral ministry. And it's also transformed my philosophy and methods in my child rearing. My wife and I have intentionally changed the terminology that we use with our children. We're deleting the phrase "Jesus help me." For example, "Jesus help me to be good," and we're replacing that with "Jesus give me your goodness." And then one of the things that we are praying with our children daily is to make us and them like him. We really want that understanding that the life transformation comes from that relationship with Jesus, that we have zero part in it except for simply having a relationship with Jesus. I'm going to close it up here. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time. God bless. And I'm going to quickly share my my academic references here. Thank you again.